Hey everybody, welcome to another Goody Reader comparison video. My name is Michael.
This is Peter.
Today we have the HTC One against the Samsung Galaxy S4. We're going to evaluate the hardware, the software, and put a special emphasis on the reading experience because for us at Goody Reader, of course, we put the priority on newspapers, magazines, ebooks, comics, and all that jazz. So first of all, let's look at the differences via the hardware that make these very much the same but also different in a matter of ways. They both rock quad-core processors. The HTC One has a little bit faster at 1.7, while the CPU on the Galaxy is at 1.6. And they both have 2 gigs of RAM. The S4 has the advantage that it has expandable storage via the SD card, and you have 3 different options. You get the 16, 32, or 64 gig models, whereas the HTC One, you have the 32 or 64 gig models. The big differences with this are the cameras. The S4, I think, kills the HTC One in terms of what it brings to the table. It has a 2 megapixel front-facing camera, and the HTC One has 2.1, but the big advantage is the rear-facing camera. 13 megapixel rear-facing camera on S4, 4 megapixels on the HTC One. So if taking pictures makes a huge difference, that may be the deciding factor right there. They both have the same resolution, 1920 by 1080. The HTC One has a 4.7-inch screen, while as the Galaxy S4 has a 5-inch screen. So fairly similar in terms of resolution. I think that the S4 has a little bit bigger of a screen, but it's negligible, right?
Right, it's not all about the screen size.
Okay, so front-facing speaker on the HTC One, and this is the most endearing factor for me. It also has Beats audio, which means that the sound quality is going to be drastically enhanced. And when we put these side by side, actually playing the same video and audio, and then turning this level up, that level down, and so on, you'll really see for yourself.
We're going to look at the core features of what a phone is supposed to do. It's supposed to call people. I know we use it for pretty much everything but these days, but let's look at it anyways. Just humor us. So you can press all this kind of number things to call people, and from there you can look at different things like logs, favorites, other contacts, whereas on the HTC you have to go into a little bit of a deeper setting to find your contacts because it's not right at the beginning. It's kind of, you have to slide left and right, and then they give you all these little intros.
Speaking of contacts, we'd like to thank our folks at Wireless Wave at West 4th Avenue in Kitsilano, Vancouver, for letting us have these phones to review.
You can text people. They have a dedicated row for numbers on the keyboards. Let's compose a text here. Unfortunately, the HTC has this little hold thing where you get the number afterwards. So, you know, symbols.
And if you're not happy with these default keyboards, one of the great aspects on Android is the wide array of extra keyboards that you can get, from like Swift to like Swift key and things like that. So
right.
Know that these are just the defaults, but you aren't locked into using them exclusively.
Right, so we're not going to dive too much more than this into messaging and all that because pretty much everyone who's ever touched a cell phone has experienced that before. We're going to go to the Goody Reader blog to show you guys the web browsing experience. Obviously the Samsung Galaxy S4 has a 5-inch screen, so everything is kind of readable by default, and the text actually does look a little bit blacker than the HTC. However, on the HTC, when you zoom in, it actually reflows for you. You can see there.
Yeah, that's actually fairly handy.
Whereas on the S4, it doesn't. It reflows when you double tap, but not when you actually zoom. So
that's actually a very useful feature, especially if you're reading a lot of like websites.
Right. So there's gesture support, of course, so you can actually swipe above just with air, and it can move. Whereas on the HTC, as hard as you might try, it won't go anywhere.
You could wait forever and
yeah.
nothing will happen other than people think you're kind of insane. if you want to see more about gesture support, we actually, in our full hands-on review of the S4, we actually dive very deeply in. But superficially, can you just show us like what all this waving is all about?
Right. So if we go to My Device and then down to Motions and Gestures, we're focusing more on the air gestures. You can see here that when you do things, like it'll kind of walk you through. Put your device on flat surface, wait for it to turn off. And if you hover your hand, it actually wakes up. So we'll just show you one more example. We won't go through every single one of these, but we'll show you one more example. Air browse. So what this is you can actually change pictures. So you can swipe left and right like so to change your pictures. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's the primary draw on the S4 is like all this AirPlay support or sort of air support. You could track your eyes as you're reading a web page, and it'll actually follow your eyes. So as you're looking down, it'll actually the text will follow and automatically scroll. And I think it's cool little things like that. I think being able to answer a phone call by swiping or turning a page while you're reading a cookbook while you're swiping, it's very compelling, and I could see a lot of people actually really digging those features. Of course, both of these phones have NFC, and Samsung has a lot of its own proprietary formats like S-Beam and stuff like that to sync things. So yeah, it's I see you waving a lot.
It's not working. But needless to say, it has quite a number of features, and yes, the extra sensors on the front are for tracking your eyes.
Okay, so let's look at like the home screens here. You can see here that you have your sort of flipboard experience.
Blink feed, as they call it on the HTC.
And then you actually have Flipboard pre-installed on the S4
right here.
So you can configure it for different websites, different types of genres, tech, business, or you can even put in Goody Reader if you want, and then you can click on a particular article, get a mobile optimized version of it. Of course, you can change the font size if it's too small for you or too large. So definitely a really emphasis on sharing and reading on both of these devices right out of the get-go. I would probably say the HTC phone is a little bit more, it doesn't push a lot of these apps in your face, like, you know, Story Album, Walking Mate, and then a lot of all these things where it's, this is the home screen is like your feed, and then you can jump right into your sort of standard Android interface here.
Right.
So HTC has these little folders. It's put a lot of mainstream apps right in there. Both of these phones have compatibility with Google Play. Instead of, you notice with this more of a vanilla Android experience in terms of you swiping. With this, you're scrolling up and down. So if you're very experienced with Android, it may be quite an adjustment getting to like the scrolling as opposed to doing that. But both of them support widgets and putting in your own keyboards and whatnot. Let's look at the Amazon e-reading experience.
So just gonna open up book at random here. So this is what they look like at, actually not default, because this one's in sepia mode. So there you go. This is how they look like in default in terms of the contrast and the white backgrounds and all that. So obviously by clicking the middle, you can open up the text options and change everything. So you can do margins, line spacing, text size, colors, and brightness. So nothing new really, because it is the Amazon Kindle app. It is the same across any platform.
Yeah, but I mean, we're using Amazon because people know it and people are aware of it. At the same time, we're mainly showing you how ebook text looks on these screens, because it's all about effective use of screen real estate.
Right.
Page turn speeds on Android, it's not really the concern it is on, say, an e-ink screen with refresh issues. it's a matter of, can you use these phones effectively to read ebooks?
That is really why we're doing this, because I mean, everyone has, whether you have an e-reader or not, everyone has a phone. So
Right.
if you were to want to use your phone to read a book, this is what it would look like.
Yeah, and the extra few inches advantage that the S4 has, it's really negligible when it comes to screen real estate. You know, you do see that it does have a little bit of an extra, but it's not like a deal breaker. I would say both of these phones do give you a fairly quality e-reading experience,
Right.
whether you're using Amazon, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Google Books, Sony, Smashwords, any of the services.
Exactly.
So you may want to check out any of the competitors out. Press Reader is an app that people use to read newspapers. And as you can see, we have the same paper loaded here.
And you can tell that pretty much both phones are unreadable by default, except for the title. So you'll have to zoom in to get a closer look. That's one way you can kind of go at it. Or you can do as Michael just did there and click on any of the blue highlighted sections, and what this will do is turn it into more of an ebook feel. And with that, you can make the text larger and go from there.
Yeah, you can also engage audio playback as well.
And you can see here that on the HTC, because there's no more button like there is on the Samsung here, it takes up a little bit more screen too for certain applications.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
Zing.
yeah. So I mean, newspapers by default, obviously not too readable, but this is just kind of the base look before you actually dive into the articles.
True that. Let's look at comic books.
So we're on page 1 there. We'll try to meet in the middle. There we go. So once again, that kind of extra options menu there is taking up a little bit more of the screen. You can see it actually takes almost an inch off of the overall screen, but
Yeah, so 5 inches, 4.7 inches, and then you actually have another inch that's taken off because of that.
So you can see that both of them display it almost identically because they are the same resolution, roughly the same PPI. They both have a Gorilla Glass over it, so nothing is really advantageous there or disadvantageous there.
Yeah, if we were to like zoom in on like a specific character, it's going to be like the same resolution.
Yeah,
Nothing much is going to change.
We can almost even make one gigantic Wolverine.
Oh my god.
Look at that. I think, yeah, you gotta move it like right there. Oh yeah.
We need to get like a third phone.
Yeah.
To, like really make them large. That's actually awesome.
Yeah, right? So, yeah, I mean, comics, page-wise, they look better in portrait anyways. Like we saw with this full-page Spider-Man there. Look at that. That looks really good.
Yeah, now that you point that out, it kind of pisses me off.
That little thing there, yeah. It's because most Android phones come with a more, or, you know, like a right click.
Apps are designed for that.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So not all apps will do that, but if you noticed, Press Reader and Marvel Comics both did that.
Exactly.
So that it's very interesting to point out because these are two mega popular apps, and you do actually lose significant screen real estate for that, and I really doubt that those app manufacturers are going to do anything special.
Exactly, just to accommodate one or two phones out there.
Yeah, so with a new version of Android, maybe,
maybe,
but likely not.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put these side by side playing the same video to give you a sense on what the audio quality is like, and if the resolution or processor or screen real estate plays a big difference in video and video quality. So obviously, as you can see with our video and sound test, I think the HTC wins in terms of being able to produce a way more solid audio experience.
It's probably the clearest sound on a cell phone, just because it has 4 speakers pointing right at your face alongside the video, and it's got Beats Audio integrated.
Yeah, so whether you're listening to it on headphones or just playing it, it's about the closest that you'll get to a tablet surround sound experience as the Amazon Kindle Fire 7 HD brought to the table,
right,
but with the HTC One. So all in all, final thoughts, I think that the Samsung S4 feels a little bit too generic for me. There's a little too much bloatware in terms of all of these like little gimmicks everywhere.
The hub takes up the entire screen.
Yeah, I mean, forget about it. I don't really like it. I do like the blink feed on the HTC One though. I think it's cool. I don't think that the gesture support, I would ever use that day to day. It seems like it's slow. Samsung needs to refine it, and yeah. Suffice to say, I do like the fact that the HTC One is distinctive in a crowd of phones that tend to all look the same after a while. The only thing I don't like is most of the apps that I use on a day-to-day basis all have that more feature there where if you press it, nothing really even happens. And so, despite the fact that you do have a 4.7-inch screen, you lose almost all of it due to like the UI on the bottom. That's the one thing that I really don't like. Your thoughts?
I would say just overall, all things considered, I'd say the HTC One is just the better phone, at least for me. I mean, sure, this is a bigger screen, but it doesn't look anything special. It's made of pretty flimsy and cheaply made plastics. I mean, the HTC is just all metal design. It has metal back, metal front. Sure, it doesn't have the best camera, but it has the most phenomenal sound of almost any cell phone I've ever seen. I mean, it's clear, it's crisp, it's loud, it fills a room, and I just think it looks better, and I don't know, there's something missing from the Samsung for me. It might be the high price tag or the fact that it just looks too plain, but I mean, that's just our thoughts, of course.
Okay, so you've heard our thoughts. Let's hear yours. Please comment on this video and let us know what you think, whether you like the HTC One, the S4, or you think that they're fairly comparable. Our YouTube channel, youtube.com/goodyreader. Again, we'd like to thank our friends at Wireless Wave, West 4th Avenue, Kitsilano, Vancouver, for providing us with these units, and for a comparison video of the HTC One against the Samsung Galaxy S4 for goodyreader.com. My name is Michael.
And this is Peter.
Everybody take care.